Through you, Mr. Mayor, it is 5:30. I do see all members of council are in attendance and are streaming, and our recording is up, so you may begin your meeting whenever you wish. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Good afternoon, council, members of SLT, and the viewing public. I see that we do indeed have quorum, so I call this meeting regular council of Monday, January 10th, 2022 in session. Next up is the land recognition statement. Going into the new year, we will be rotating between councilors as to who reads this declaration. And tonight, I believe it's Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. And I will turn to the clerk.
For you, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Wink, and it is that the agenda be amended to move item 10.2.1 Vision Zero Road Safety Program Staff Report after item 4.2.1 Niagara Region Delegation. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Okay, any discussion on this amendment? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, this vote begins with Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrand. Oh.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Hildebrand. Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you. That does carry. We do have a motion put forth by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that the agenda for the January 10th, 2022 regular meeting of council be adopted as amended. To you, Mr. Mayor, for any discussion.
Any further discussion by council? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This vote again begins with Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrand.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you. That does carry. Through you, Mr. Mayor, that does bring you to the disclosure of pecuniary interest.
Thank you. After viewing the agenda, does any councillor have a pecuniary interest to declare?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Kaur?
Yes, 8.3.2.
Okay. Thank you, councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am so noting.
Any other pecuniary interest to declare? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the hearings and presentations and delegations. Our first presentation is from Chief Limburner for COVID. Thank you.
Okay. Chief, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of SLT. Just a few numbers here to throw by you. So as of today, Pelham is at a total case count of 942, and we currently have 184 active cases in Niagara. Out of the 12 municipalities, we're fourth from the bottom. There's 8 other municipalities that are ahead of us in case count, so the numbers are quite high in Niagara. Across the region, we had 406 today for a total of 26,488. Total active case count is 5,624, 20,416 resolved, and our fatalities are at 448. Province-wide, we're at 888,297 total cases. Of those, 396 are resolved, and our total fatalities are 10,378. Ontario Hospital admissions. 2,467 of those, 438 in an ICU, and those 100 on ventilators are 234 across the country. 2,566,564 total cases. Of those, 2,148,492 resolved, and we have 30,845 fatalities. Niagara Region's case doubling time is at 44 days. Our positivity rate is up to 28.1%. Our reproduction rate's at 1.0. With variants of concern, another area that's changed quite dramatically since last week. Delta 10.3%, Omicron is at 32.9%, and unknown is at 56.8%. Our infection spread, close contact with confirmed case, 49.1%. Community spreads has increased to 24.1%. Unknown spread is at 24.9%, and travel has dropped down to 1.9%. Our Niagara Public Health Unit is dealing with 59 active outbreaks. They've resolved 551. As far as vaccinations go in Niagara, 4.9% have a first dose, 76.7% have the second dose. Province-wide, 6% first dose, 82% second dose, and across the country, 5.84% first dose and 79.22% second dose. Our provincial indicators are all in red, so we're critical. Our MCC remains closed. Town Hall is open to appointment only. The stress from our CEO and his reports that people are to work from home whenever possible, so we're strongly suggesting that. And the last point, rapid tests are available to employees who request them or require them, and we're conducting them here at Fire Station 1. So if anybody, that's the end of my report. If anybody has any questions?
Thank you, Chief, for a thorough report. Any councillor have any questions or comments on the Chief's report? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Kaur. Be it resolved that Council receive the COVID-19 update presentation from B. Lindberner, Fire Chief and Community Emergency Management Coordinator, for information. To you, Mr. Mayor, for any further discussion.
Okay, any other further discussion on the Chief's report? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. This vote begins with Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you. That does carry. Mr. Mayor, that brings you to your next presentation, and that's from Mr. David Cribbs, Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you. Mr. CAO Cribbs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Council. My report's much in line with what the Chief had to say to you just moments ago. With respect to the corporation's reactions to the most recent provincial mandates, there are really sort of two impacts that I think members of the community might notice. Firstly, with respect to Town Hall, we are open by appointment only, so the doors are locked again. However, if people make arrangements, we will still provide physical service. As a management team, we're making significant efforts to ensure that staff are spread out both in time and in physical space. So, for example, the treasurer and deputy treasurer try not to be physically present on the same day, the clerk and the deputy clerk, the same thing, etc., so as to protect institutional capacity in the event that someone gets ill or has to isolate. So that part is reasonably well in hand. We've been through this before, and unlike the earlier, when the pandemic struck earlier, we have the technology in place to be effective and efficient and to continue our operations. So there's no service disruption at Town Hall in that we continue to offer all services, albeit by phone or online, and physically only if people make appointments. Now, with respect to the MCC, of course, that facility is closed pursuant to provincial directive. And with respect to staff there, the town administratively, we have effected 7 layoffs, and we have accommodated 7 staff members by having them perform tasks in other areas of the corporation, and 1 resignation. So 15 people all in. The resignation position won't be filled until at least such time as the building is open again. Subject to questions, that is my report for you at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cribbs. Any counselor have any questions or comments for the CAO? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk?
Through Mr. Mayor, thank you. I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Hahn, seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved that Council receive the COVID-19 update presentation from D. Cribbs, Chief Administrative Officer, for information. To you, Mr. Mayor, in case there's any other discussion.
Okay. Any other discussions on the CAO's report? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. This vote begins with Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson?
Yes.
Councillor Stewart?
Yes.
Councillor Wink?
Yes.
Councillor Hahn?
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt?
Yes.
Mayor Junkin?
Yes.
Thank you. That does carry. To you, Mr. Mayor, that brings you to your delegations. We do have the region here. I will ask Ms. Leach to bring our presenters into the meeting room.
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would like to advise council and the presenters that the mayor, as the chair, has provided the presenters a 20-minute presentation window. This was at the request of the region. And I do believe that we do have the Director of Transportation Services and the Associate Director of Reporting and Analysis here to present. Just looking, oh, it looks like they are here in the meeting. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Greetings to the people from the region. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we are looking forward to your presentation, and the floor is yours. Oh, we're not hearing you.
Good evening, Mayor Junkin. Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So we just shared the screen and also want to confirm that you can see the screen with the presentation.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, Pelham Town Council, for having us here this evening. My name is Carolyn Ryle. I'm the Director of the Transportation Services Division. I have Beth Brenz here, who is the Acting Associate Director of Financial Reporting and Analysis, who will talk to the financial element as part of the presentation, and Judy McPherson, who is a specialist in transportation who's been assisting with the program overall. So as part of the agenda and the presentation for this evening, I'm going to be providing a Vision Zero Road Safety Program overview. I'm here to also talk to the IMA, referred to as the Courts Intermunicipal Agreement changes that are before you in collaboration and partnership with municipal staff. There's a report on the floor that's seeking approval this evening. It talks to the Vision Zero terms, as well as the financial overview that we're seeking with this approval. And then to close off with any next steps regarding the launch of the program once all 12 municipal approvals, in addition to regional council approval, have been obtained. So first, I'd like to talk a little bit about the program, and I'm going to start with community safety zones. So we all know that speeding is a primary crash factor and a leading road safety problem. It's fair to say that this is something that the region and transportation deal with on a daily basis. And I would think that the municipality, in conversation with staff there, deal with very similar concerns with regards to the speeds that are happening on our roadways. It contributes to 1/3 of fatal crashes and serves as an aggravating factor in most of the crashes. Niagara Regional Council has the authority under the Municipal Act to pass bylaws and initiate measures where possible to ensure the health and the safety of residents. In establishing community safety zones, the region has used this as one of the tools in the toolkit to assist with road safety and the driving behaviors on our roadways. I'd like to note that there are 13 approved community safety zones on regional roads that have been approved by regional council since 2019. In collaboration with all of the municipalities and in working very closely with the school boards as partners, as well as the Niagara Regional Police, we're pleased to say that those 13 community safety zones are across all of the municipalities. There are a number of schools across the regional road networks. What we've done to start with the launch of the program is prioritize the community safety zones based on a number of criteria that has to do with incidents on the roadways, collisions, speeding thresholds, sidewalks, lighting, the number of students walking to and from school. And I am aware that there is a school on a regional road in Pelham that is within our list, and it'll be something that we will be working closely in partnership with the municipality on as we continue to roll out the program down the road. The region, in working again with everyone, strategically was looking at schools. Obviously, we're trying to encourage walking, active transportation, and increase the safety in these areas. So we're targeting schools to start, and the intent would be to expand that to parks and long-term residential care, where again, we're trying to facilitate safe movement of people outside to and from these different locations. If I then can talk about the automated speed enforcement. So again, what we're proposing as part of the Vision Zero program, in addition to the community safety zones that we work very closely with Niagara Regional Police on in partnership, as already mentioned, this is another tool that we're going to be bringing as part of the Vision Zero toolkit to the table that's going to assist us in dealing with excessive speeding that's happening in community safety zones. So ASC, it's automated speed enforcement, is referred to as ASC. It was launched in December of 2019 by the province. The region's business case, again, in collaboration and talking with many partners, was to have 4 initiated to be rotated among the 13 community safety zones to start, as we would assess those and understand how the program is working. Obviously, the benefits of ASC that we're targeting is to increase safety in the school zones, reduce excessive speeding in those areas. We're looking for a positive change in just driver awareness through school zones, working with the police on the availability of those resources, if not where the ASC is, to have it elsewhere in the community, dealing with other policing matters. And again, the big thing is just to deal with the overall safety in these areas where we're trying to deal with an increased active transportation and awareness to what's happening on the roadways. I'd also like to note that under the legislation approved by the province, in order to operate automated speed enforcement, any revenues collected under any municipal ASC program need to be put back into local public safety and educational initiatives. That's one of the actual requirements. The next slide talks to the municipalities that are already well underway in Ontario to have already launched the automated speed enforcement. You can see from Toronto down to London, there are 120 cameras already in operation. Charge volumes, these are tickets that have been issued. This is not reflective of revenue. This just deals with the number of tickets issued to those who have gone through a community safety zone where an ASC piece of equipment was. They've issued 522,000 tickets to date. The region, as part of the business case, is proposing to start where Durham is with the 4 automated speed enforcement pieces of equipment. And again, we'd be rotating among the 13 approved community safety zones. And you can see here, if you look at Peel down to London, they started with 1 to 2, but our counterpart, Hamilton, our neighbor there, is looking to implement 8 additional cameras in addition to the 2 that they started with the launch of their program. So this is just really to give everyone just a little bit of an idea as to the municipalities who sat in as part of the ASC working group. Niagara Region was a stakeholder as part of that working group, and our colleagues have launched their programs, and we've been in close contact with them to understand how they've been working to date, and we'll continue as a partner to understand best practices and to work collaboratively down here with our municipalities, again, on how we'd like to move this program forward. When we talk about another item under the Vision Zero program, we've been speaking about red light cameras. This was introduced in the province in 2000. The cameras are proven to reduce right angle collisions by 25%. The region's business case talks to rolling out 10 red light cameras across Niagara region to start, with over 400 intersections that have been assessed. That is not just regional and regional. We've looked at regional and municipal. We've looked at regional and MTO, as well as regional and Niagara Parks Commission. We have a consultant on board right now that has been assessing all of these intersections to identify the first 10 red light location intersections that we like to implement this. As the region works with its partners, the municipalities, on the identification and the completion of our Complete Streets initiative, again, we're trying to change the dynamic from a car-centric one to an active transportation, a multimodal roadway where all users feel safe and have the rights of way on the roadway. And with the seriousness of what a red light collision can do, the seriousness of the accident, which could result in fatalities, this is a proven technology as part of our toolkit that we're looking to roll out under the Vision Zero program as well. There will be a subsequent report coming back to Public Works and to Council here in the region in Q1 of this year, identifying how the intersections were identified and prioritized to deal with the first 10 throughout the region. And again, there will be conversations as we move forward and assess with our municipal partners on how we would hopefully expand this program in the future. Next, under the other Vision Zero initiatives, I've given some identification under community safety zones, automated speed enforcement of red light cameras, which deal with automated enforcement and how they work hand in hand together. It's important to note that the municipalities and the region already have a number of annual programs in play that we already roll out and implement when we talk about improved signage and pavement markings, when we build mid-block crossings, for example, crosswalks referred to as PXOs, when we deal with the Complete Streets initiative that's underway. These are all initiatives that all of us have been working very closely on how we deal with the roadway strategically to deal with it, not only from obviously an enhancement perspective, an active transportation perspective, but from a road safety initiative. All of this forms under one big umbrella. So as a number of these initiatives are already well underway as part of our operating and capital program, they will continue, and any revenue above our operating and annual costs, again, these are the initiatives that we'd be working with our municipalities on in improving in areas that get identified with deficiencies. Now, if I can turn everyone's attention to the revisions that are being proposed with regards to the court's intermunicipal agreement, and why we're here today. So we're looking for and we're seeking unanimous support across all 12 local area municipal councils for the changes related to the Niagara Region Court's intermunicipal agreement. Those changes constitute recognizing Vision Zero, which was not originally contemplated. It talks to how the region, in cooperation and partnership with the municipalities, however, will lead the implementation, the initial operation and oversight to ensure the legislative compliance of the Vision Zero initiative on behalf of all of Niagara region, inclusive with the 12 municipalities. It allows for upfront funds, net of court program costs related to the program, to be reimbursed back to the region for the implementation, the oversight, and the legislative compliance piece. And any revenue above this will be split 50-50 among the region and the local area municipalities, which is very similar to the original 2000 IMA construct, that it's split 50-50 among the region and our municipal partners. And again, those dollars needing to go back into road safety initiatives that come from the program. So again, why are we here today? The current IMA does not identify or call out Vision Zero. The current IMA does not contemplate the province's guidelines and the reporting compliance for automated speed enforcement that needs to be completed in order to participate in part of the program. There's risks of the implementation that are being assumed by the region who would lead it, again, in cooperation and partnership with the municipalities. That's dealing with the educational and outreach. That's dealing with public scrutiny, answering and addressing any questions. That's us dealing with the many different stakeholders and a consistent, obviously, message around the operation and the intent of the program that's pulling together our emergency services, any businesses that could be affected by any piece of the Vision Zero program, as well as municipal staff. It talks to significant upfront investment that the region is putting forward to get the program up and running in order for all of us to assess it. And again, to learn how we can enhance and advance this program. And then lastly, from an opportunities perspective, it allows for consistency and synergies between the region and the municipalities on the rolling out of it with regards to, again, strategic placement of where we're putting the technology from a halo effect. So we're getting maximum road safety throughout all of the region. It deals with the hiring of consultants that are assessing all of the infrastructure across Niagara region, across a certain set of determined criteria to help us balance out, again, where all of that infrastructure and different tools that we're talking here tonight should go. It talks to managing the resources through the courts as well as through the region. That includes transportation and other staff associated with it. And again, it's just the synergies, the messaging and the partnership that can all come together between the municipalities and the regions under the opportunities umbrella. I'm now going to pass it over to Beth to provide an overview of the financial business case that was approved by the Regional Council, and that is before you this evening as well.
Thanks, Carolyn. So the next few slides I will be presenting are intended to provide a high-level overview of the financials, largely based on what was approved by Regional Council and in alignment with the changes being proposed to the IMA. This slide provides a high-level overview of the estimated operating budget as outlined in the 2020 business case approved by Niagara Region Council. The numbers shown on this slide relate to our first full year of operations, which we're estimating to be 2023. The total operating costs for both the courts program and the region's operations in both our transportation and business licensing divisions are estimated at approximately $4 million. The operating cost of $4 million will be funded fully if we have ticket revenue from approximately 32,500 tickets, which we're estimating 5,000 to come from the 10 red light cameras and 27,500 from the 4 ASC cameras. It is anticipated that the ticket revenue generated from the program will allow for enough funds to cover program operating and implementation costs over the first 3 years. This is another visual of the anticipated Vision Zero revenue, expenditures, and planned bottom line based on the first full year of operations, and again, based on that 32,500 ticket number as noted on the earlier slide. It is important to note that courts recognize ticket revenue based on a cash basis, meaning revenue is based on ticket revenue received in year, not just based on the ticket issued. 32,500 tickets could result in an estimated total gross revenue of approximately $5.4 million. When considering actual cash received, we are estimating that approximately 300,000 of the 5.4 will not be received in the first year, resulting in the 5.1 million number that you're seeing in the second green section. And the 5.1 then is further reduced to 4 million after victim fine surcharges are considered, and those are mandatory payments to the province based on the ticket issue. The 4 million is then further reduced to 2.3 million in remaining revenues after court Vision Zero program costs, which are estimated at 1.7 million. And then after our regional costs, which are estimated at 2.3 million, we are showing the program coming down to a net zero position, meaning no net Vision Zero revenue distribution to the region or the local area municipality. I've also flagged on this slide that the region is anticipating approximately 750,000 in implementation costs to get the sites ready. It is anticipated that the region will be paid back these expenditures from future years' Vision Zero revenue prior to any net revenue distribution. Some of the risks that I would like to flag, there are significant unknowns around the number of tickets that will be issued, challenged, and or not paid, which could require collection effort. Because we're not sure how many tickets will be challenged, we are flagging that there could be pressure in our court trial time capacity as a result of challenged tickets. And less ticket revenue collected than expenditures incurred We've laid out in section 7 of the amendment to the IMA that regional funding will be used to offset any in-year deficits to ensure no negative impact to non-Vision Zero revenue. And regional funding provided will be paid from future years Vision Zero revenue, again, prior to any future years Vision Zero revenue distribution. So to reiterate, the lands will not be expected to use any of their non-Vision Zero revenue distribution to offset any Vision Zero deficit. The opportunities, the goal of the program is to change driver behavior, to reduce overall speeding on roads within the region, and ultimately to improve road safety. There is an opportunity or flexibility to align staffing levels and port services to ticket volume experience, so that we do have some flexibility to ensure we're managing our expenditures in alignment with the ticket volume experience that we are experiencing, and then ultimately maximizing any Vision Zero program revenue for distribution. And if we do receive more ticket revenue collected than expenditures incurred, net Vision Zero revenue will be distributed based on assessments, 50% to the region and 50% to the lands, which is in alignment with the current IMA. And again, note that any future year Vision Zero revenue will need to be used to pay back the region for any deficits that have been covered and our implementation costs. And as Carolyn had noted earlier, any net revenue must be reinvested back into the road safety initiatives and reported back to the region to support ministry reporting. I'm going to turn it back to Carolyn now.
Thank you, Beth. So just to conclude with regards to next steps, the region is talking to each of the 12 local area municipal councils. We started those presentations in December, and we will be finishing those the month of January. We will be reporting back to regional council on the finalized amending IMA and the approvals that we've been seeking across each of the municipalities. We're targeting February, and we're also with the hope to seek council approval for the execution of remaining and new vendor agreements that we need to put into place, whether that's with MTO, that's with the vendors related to the automated speed enforcement and red light camera technology, to have all those put into place and targeting February, more towards March of this year. And with the go live date, we're targeting of Q2 of 2022 to get the program up and running throughout Niagara region. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the town council for having the region here this evening. This is an extremely exciting program in working with the municipality very closely that we're trying to roll out. I'd like to thank the director, the CAO, and the town clerk for all of their assistance in the background with regards to reviews and the staff report that's on the floor this evening, and all the coordination to have us here. So thank you. We can now open it up to any questions that there may be.
Excellent presentation. Thank you, Carolyn, and your cohort. I tell you, it wasn't until I stirred out on Highway 20 and South Pelham Street, I believe it was September or October, we were looking about Christmas decorations, and I spent about 20 minutes at that intersection, and you realize that, yes, this is an initiative that has been needed for quite some time in the region, and like I say, that Highway 20 is as bad as any road I would think that you have in the region. So with that being said, I obviously I think it's a great initiative, all parts of it. Before I turn it to council, I'd like to start off with asking one question, and that is, I see that you have implemented 13 community safety zones, and you alluded to the fact that we do have in Pelham, we do have a public school on Highway 20, Regional Road, St. Alexander's at the corner of Station Street and Highway 20. Now, is that, obviously it hasn't been designated yet, is that a slam dunk? Or as you alluded to, you have to meet certain criteria before you establish a community safety zone? Even if there's a school there, you still have to meet criteria. Could you address that, please?
Through the chair. So thank you, Mayor Junkin, for the question. Very good question. So What we've been trying to do with obviously just the initial, we'll say, launch of the program is we've been putting together and working with consultants outside of the region an understanding of a number of strategic criteria and how we are ranking or rating the severity of some of the road safety matters that we're dealing with. So with the launch of the program under what we're presenting here this evening, the intent is for us to be operating with the 13 community safety zones and the 10 red light cameras for the first short period of the program so we can get an understanding of how things are operating. The region will be continuing to assess all areas of the roadway, so the remainder of the schools on the regional road network in the example that you've alluded to, with the intent, as we work as partners to expand the program, that it could absolutely include for this. So the timing of that is something right now, it's fair to say that I'm not able to elaborate on, but the intent is for us to understand with the automated speed enforcement moving around the first 13, how that is changing the driver awareness and behavior on the roadway, and to report back on that with a strategy, again, working with all municipalities on how we want to advance and enhance this program by moving it forward. So the intent is not only, I would think in the future, to keep it on a regional road network, the conversations with the municipalities is how we could work as partners to translate this, for example, onto a municipal road that could have, for example, a speeding issue that may have a little bit, might be more serious in nature. And with the halo effect of placing it there, for example, does that deal with Regional Road 20 with the school that you're talking to? So I'm using that merely as an example. So the one opportunity that we talked to was with having the consultants assessing the regional roads with a set of criteria and then incorporating and adapting that to the municipal roads, we have the real opportunity to understand where strategically we can place this technology, how we can move it around, again, to enhance what we're all trying to get to here is increased road safety and awareness that's happening on the regional road network.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Carolyn. So, Council, I will now open it to Council. I anticipate quite a few questions. So, if each councillor could restrict themselves to 2 questions, and then we'll go around the horn and then come back if you have any more questions. So, Councillor, any questions on the presentation? And we'll start with Councillor Hildebrand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the presenters, thank you very much. I'm totally in favor of the program. I have a couple of questions with regards to the presentation. You noted today that the current agreement does not contemplate the province's guideline for automated enforcement, and you say the risk for implementation is assumed by the region. Yet when you talk about risks and opportunities on the chart you just displayed, you never mentioned that factor at all. Was there a reason why that was left out?
Carolyn?
Through the mayor, Councillor, could you rephrase it a little bit? We want to make sure we're answering the question correctly. I'm not sure if I understood it. If you could just repeat it for us.
Sure.
Councillor?
I'll be glad to do that. At the start of your presentation, why we were here today, you stated to us the current agreement does not contemplate the province's guideline for automated enforcement, and all the risk for implementation is being assumed by the region.
Correct.
When you went to the risk and opportunities page that you presented by the region, that was not listed as one of the risks.
So through the mayor, there was a couple times in the presentation where we talked to opportunities and risks. So as part of the overall program, I talked to just sort of the collaboration and the partnership and the financial overview, risks and opportunities that exist from us rolling out the program. It's important to note that the agreement, so when we talk about risks and the reporting and any regulatory items that we need to adhere to, the region will be executing those agreements with the vendors and with MTO, for example, in the city. So anything to do with regards to us ensuring proper compliance from a risk perspective will be the onus of the region. How we will work very closely with each of the municipalities is that when dollars are being invested back into road safety, with everyone's revenue, if there's any revenue at the end of the day, that reporting of how it's being put back into related safety measures on behalf of the municipalities, there'll be that coordination with the region so we can report that back out. So when we're talking about a risk around compliance, for example, because the region is executing those vendor agreements and the agreements with MTO, that accountability will fall on the region to make sure that we're exercising and completing that as required. Does that answer the question, Councillor?
Not exactly, because I'm concerned about the risk since there's no guideline for automated enforcement by the provinces, and you're going ahead without that guideline, from what I understand.
Okay, so to clarify through the mayor, so the province does have guidelines related to automated speed enforcement. When we're talking about I'm talking about the intermunicipal agreement between the region and the 12 local area municipalities. The initial agreement that was executed in 2000 among the parties didn't contemplate Vision Zero at the time. We are now before you seeking the approval as we'd like to roll out Vision Zero in partnership with the municipalities, and the IMA is now contemplating the construct that we've got before you in order to run that program and implement it. ASC through the program, through the province, was approved the end of 2019. It is regulatory and there are guidelines that the region will be adhering to, and reporting compliance, for example, is one piece that I was mentioning a few minutes ago.
Thank you. I have one other question. I noticed that going online, checking what other municipalities are charging for a red light ticket, for instance, it's a fairly substantial number. In Hamilton, it's like $325. Therefore, I suspect that appeals, convictions will be challenged to some extent, because once you get into that region, I would think that a lot more challenges will be raised to the court systems. And I notice your charts do not have a chart where convictions or appeals were listed. You just issued the number of tickets that were issued. Do you have that data?
Okay.
Through the mayor. So we did estimate in our the chart that I did, the triangle, how it was coming down. So we did estimate not collecting about $300,000 net for the program over that time. So we have tried to consider what we knew about the program at the time, like what our collection experience could be or would be. My understanding is those tickets are the red light camera program has been in play for some time. So I think it's pretty established that those tickets are what they are. Like you're not going to challenge them. I think the issue is going to be with the automated speed enforcement being new, and especially in this area, I think we'll see tickets being challenged. So that was built into our model when we were costing out what our anticipated cash received or revenue received would be.
So do you have the data from Hamilton? Because I know they have red light cameras and their experience with challenges.
I do believe that we could probably get that to you. I don't have that access with me right now, but we could follow up after the meeting with that information.
Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for the questions. I see Councillor Olson with his hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, and thank you to the presenters for their report here. I'm looking at the Toronto Star reported that the Hospitals for Sick Children was doing a study on the reducing vehicle pedestrian accidents in Toronto, and they're saying that the average speed before enforcement in a 40-mile zone was 58 kilometers an hour, which is pretty close to 60, and after was 6 kilometers per hour after the cameras were installed. And they said they expect reports this month. So is that the type of change we're expecting here, we should be expecting?
Through the mayor, so excellent question. So just for some background information, Sick Kids actually is the consultant that I don't know if they were procured, but they have been enlisted to support all of the municipalities who move forward with ASC to assist with the locations that are identified and to look at the before and the after. So the sick kids, we actually have been in touch with them. And again, as part of the program that will be rolled out down here in Niagara region, if approved, they will be party to understanding the conditions and the changes around driver awareness and behavior down here as well. So that's the positive, is that they will be assisting, and they are assisting all the municipalities who are launching ASC. So with regards to whether it's going to be to that extent, we are looking to have a decrease, obviously, in speeding on the roadways. That's the intent of the program. And one of the things with us obviously overseeing the program and working closely with them is we'll be able to report back what the delta is and how it's incorporating from year to year. And again, as we look to enhance and increase the program, what that does. So yes, we are absolutely anticipating driver changes with regards to speeds. Whether it's going to be that same ratio, I think it's too hard for us to tell at this point.
Councillor?
Yes, thank you for that answer. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Another question is, we get a real nice report every month or so on transit, which is a comparison of what the changes are and what the usage is. Would we be able to get something like that? Not necessarily on a monthly basis, perhaps a quarterly basis to show what the progress is throughout the region and in Pelham in particular?
Through the mayor. So with regards to the reporting at the region, we will be coming back with a fulsome yearly annual report. However, we are anticipating to probably be putting something together that we can send out to all municipalities on a quarterly basis. So once the program is up and running, we're happy to bring that back and determine whether it's going to be quarterly, depending on the data and how quick we can assess the data. Again, working with the courts as our partners and the Niagara Regional Police, or whether we may do it twice a year. But we'll definitely be coming back with reporting, not just annually with regards to either biannual or quarterly. So excellent point. We'll bring that back.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Mayor. Just another comment. I'm going to be voting in favor of this because I think this is a step where we're taking technology into safety, and I think it's important.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kaur, I believe, has his hand up.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for the great presentation. What impact would this have on the Niagara Regional Police budget?
So through the mayor, good question. So this is a partnership with the regional police. So with regards to budget, I can't comment on budget. With regards to the allocation and the amount of speeding that we're dealing with on the roadway, this is really the way we're looking at it is this is another tool to assist with the enforcement and the support we're getting from the Niagara Regional Police. So from a budget perspective, I can't speak to that. I would need to have the police commentary around that. But just with regards to the amount of speeding that I'm aware of, that I deal with on a daily basis in my close working relationship with the police and their assistants, this is just another means to assist with the large volume that we're dealing with and the excess speeds that we're dealing with on the regional road network. And that's not even commenting on what may be occurring on the municipal streets and the reporting of the speedings that could be happening there.
Councillor?
Yes, one further question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the people that presented. Would some of the proceeds go to the police budget or police force?
Through the mayor, the way that it would work is that the ticket revenue would flow through the court system and be distributed in a similar fashion as all the other ticket revenue that flows through the courts, 50% to the region and 50% to the land. But the only difference with Division 0 program is that we're going to segregate and ensure that the regional costs incurred are covered first prior to distribution. So based on that agreement, no, nothing will be transferred.
Okay, thank you. Councillor,
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the presenters? I may ask another one then, Carolyn. Currently, the town budgets $50,000 to the POA, but that money in our budget, that will stay with us. You're only counting about the proceeds from the Vision Zero, correct?
Through the mayor, so that's correct. So if there is any revenue after the courts and the region are reimbursed for the operation, the implementation of Vision Zero, that will be split similar to the current IMA, 50% to the region and 50% to the municipalities to be used towards road safety initiatives. So yes, this is above the original dollars you were speaking to. That's correct.
Okay, excellent. And then if we can be optimistic, couple of years down the road, whether it be 1 or 2 years down the road, any money that is returned back to the municipalities, does that money have to go to road projects, or could that go to bylaw enforcement within any municipality that wish to do it that way?
So through the mayor, good question. So with regards to how the dollars need to be invested, and this is just Vision Zero, this is not POA, the other dollars you were speaking to.
Right.
Any dollars revenue above, again, for Vision Zero need to go back into road safety initiatives. And what that description is something we'll work very closely with regards to the municipalities on. So whether it's dealing with infrastructure upgrades, and I need to clarify if it would have to do anything with bylaw, but anything to do with infrastructure upgrades, signage, pavement markings, more technology, that would all fall under the umbrella, to my understanding, in consultation with my stakeholder partners in the province, would fall under Vision Zero. Whether that could also deal with bylaw enforcement related to this, I can take that away and ask that question. But yes, any revenue related to Vision Zero has to go into some sort of road safety initiative, awareness, education, platform to assist with the conditions on the roadway.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I'll go back to council again. Any further questions from council to the presenters? Not seeing any, so I will get one more question then. Interesting, of course, you're going to have, I believe it's 4 cameras that you're going to be moving around, and I realize, of course, there's probably 100 places where they could go, and every municipality is going to wish that they were first or ask that they be first. Again, I guess you'll just be, going with a consultant and picking the community safety zones that prominent or fill the criteria most, and I imagine that is where the cameras will be started at. Is that a correct assumption?
So through the mayor, so yes. So again, there's been just to ensure that we're putting them out in the more strategic locations, criteria has been developed to have us uniformly look at all of the schools to start off with on the regional road network. So yes, we have looked at, I think there's 38 schools, if I recall correctly, across the regional road network, and we've prioritized them based on that set criteria. So the intent would be that the region would continue to annually look at all schools that haven't been identified as community safety zones. We'd be looking at collision, speeding stats to obviously refresh that information against that prioritized list. And we would be looking as part of a recommendation coming out of transportation through annual upcoming budgets with the intent to expand the program. So yes, we'd be looking to see how we could incorporate community safety zones, maybe not just as schools as we move forward, looking at retirement and parks, for example. There's a lot of other multimodal activity to bring those online, and we'd be using set criteria to prioritize that. And again, strategically trying to deal with the more problematic areas to start, and then seeing how that has the halo effect. And what I mean by that is what changes that does in a certain circumference around that area around driver behavior, again, with the intent on how we'd measure that and then eventually assess and move those locations around based on the changes that we're seeing on the roadway.
Excellent. And you know what? That's actually a great idea. You're taking the politics out of it, and you're going to go over strictly facts and what's happening on the roads in the peninsula or in the region, and obviously that's the way it should be. Get the dangerous situations cleared up first, as the statistics show us, and then go from there. I think that's a great way to implement the program, and congratulations on that. I'll ask one more time, councillors, any other questions to the presenters? I believe Councillor Stewart.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm wondering, does Pelham currently have a community safety zone? And if so, where is it located?
Through the mayor, so Pelham currently does not have a community safety zone that's been approved among the first 13. I am aware of the Sir Alexander Catholic Elementary School on Regional Road 20. It's in our list, but currently it is not an approved community safety zone.
Councillor?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? If not, again, thank you very, very much, Carolyn and friends, for making the presentation. Great initiative by the region, and I believe and it will be well received. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have a motion put forth by Councillor Kaur, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that Council receive the delegation from the Niagara region regarding the Vision Zero intermunicipal agreement for information. To you, Mr. Mayor, in case there's any other discussion.
Okay. Any other questions, Council? I'm not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. This vote begins with Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. We do now have our related staff report, as the agenda was amended, and I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Hildebrandt, seconded by Councillor Olson. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2022-0004 Vision Zero Road Safety Program for information, and that Council direct the amending agreement to the Niagara Region Courts intermunicipal agreement as attached as Appendix A be approved for purposes of advancing the Vision Zero program, and that Council authorize and direct the Mayor and Clerk to execute the amending agreement to the Niagara Region Courts intermunicipal agreement. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Okay. Any discussion by Council on this motion? Councillor Wink.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I fully support the Vision Zero Road Safety Program and will be voting in favor of the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments before we call the vote? Not seeing any, other than to say that I will also be following staff recommendations. To you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. This vote begins with Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. I thank our presenters for coming. Oh, I see Ms. Leach has removed. Oh, Ms. Leach can remove them from the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to considering minutes, and I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Hildebrandt. Be it resolved that the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. RC-21-2021, Regular Council, December 20th, 2021. To you, Mr. Mayor, to call for any errors or omissions.
Yes. Any errors or omissions that any councillor would like to point out on these minutes? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this vote begins with Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. Mr. Mayor, that does bring you to the consent agenda. We're on item number 7, which is where any counselor can request to lift an item. If a counselor wishes just to speak to an item and not change the resolution attached, there's no need to lift. Mr. Mayor, I'd ask if there are any counselors who wish to lift any items.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any counselor that would, I see we have one. Councilor Wink.
Yes, could I lift 8.5.3, please? And also to address Councillor Corr's conflict of interest, 8.3.2, please.
Okay, thank you. Any other counselors that like to lift an item? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Now would be the time to be able to speak to and consider any of the other items. And I'll just read for the record a motion put forward by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that Council receive the consent agenda items listed on the January 10th, 2022 Council agenda be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved, save and accept item 8.5.3 and item 8.3.2. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any of these agenda items that any counselor would like to comment on? Councilor Wink.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. 8.3.1, it indicates that if a candidate files on Monday, May 2nd, that they can start campaigning. Just for clarification, does that mean that they can start putting up election signs at that time? So if someone from staff can
Thank
comment
you.
on.
And that would be our clerk's department, I believe.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. No, our sign bylaw indicates that you can start putting up signs. I believe it is approximately, I think it says 45 days prior to the election day. So no, you cannot put signs up starting May 2nd. But certainly if you filed your paperwork, then you can start doing your campaigning otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any other of the agenda items that any counselor would like to comment on? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. This vote begins with Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Corr.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. That does bring us to our items of separate consideration. And the first item that we will consider is 8.3.2, and this is a recommendation report for application for subdivision, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment. This is the Park Place North, and is report 2022-006P planning. Councillor Corr did indicate a conflict of interest, and I'm just seeing that he is removing himself from the meeting, and I will just read into the record the motion. It's be it resolved that Council receive report 2022-05 for information as it pertains to file numbers 2016-19-03-2020 OP AM-0321 and AM-1220 relating to Park Place North, and that Council direct planning staff to prepare the bylaws for approval of the official plan and zoning bylaw amendments for Council's consideration. And that Council approve the draft plan of subdivision attached as Appendix A to the conditions in Appendix B. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Okay, Councillor Wink, I believe.
No, I have no issue with it. I just wanted to respect Councillor Corr's conflict of interest. So, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Councillor. While we're on 8.3.2, is there any other councillor that would like to discuss this? I see Councillor Stewart.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. When I guess it was the developer came to us and gave us an outline, he presented 3 different scenarios for what they were going to build. At what point will we know exactly what their plans are, or if they've thrown in a 4th idea? When will we know that? And yeah, I'll get an answer to that. And then I have one more quick question.
Okay, thank you. Believe we'll go to Director of Planning, Ms. Weems.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the plan of subdivision is really to create the block of land and the extension of the Meridian Way roadway. You will become aware of what the actual development will be for those lands. You're quite correct that the developer did present 3 options, and depending on what they choose, that decision will be made at site plan stage. So once we receive a site plan application, that's when, we can certainly share with you the information about what the proposal is. But the official plan does allow for a range of uses, and so the zoning is implementing the official plan policy that will permit a range of uses. But what that specific development is subject to future applications, and most notably a site plan and potentially draft plan of condominium.
Councillor?
Yes, thank you. And if I may, I'm just wondering, it's in there in the appendix about development charges, and it said it shall pay the applicable Town of Pelham, Niagara Region, and Niagara District Catholic School Board development charges in place at the time of building permit issuance. Would there not also be development charges for the public school board and the library? Can you explain how that works?
Ms. Weems?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. So the town's development charges does have, as part of that, a library component. And so that's how there is collection with respect to growth-related costs associated with the library. That will be changing in the future as the Development Charges Act, when we update the development charges going forward. I think it's planned for next year to do an update to the Development Charges Act. We have to take out some of those soft services such as libraries, and they become part of a community benefit charge. So in the future that will change, but it is a municipal charge. And currently, the public school board does not have a development charge. So they are not, there are no development charges with respect to the public school board.
Councillor?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for those questions, Councillor. Any other questions on 8.3.2? Not seeing any. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. I will be using the same mover as the consent agenda, which is Councillor Stewart, with the seconder being Councillor Wink. And for the vote, this begins with Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you. That does carry. To you, Mr. Mayor, that brings us to our next item, which was lifted for separate consideration, and this is the Pelham Active Transportation Committee. This is the Steve Bauer Trail nomenclature. Just make sure that Councillor Kaur can return back to the meeting.
Oh. Yes, how would we do that?
Councillor Kaur, if you can hear me, you can return to the meeting.
Huh.
I will send him an email as well.
Calling Council Kaur.
Oh, I will just send him a quick email. He did email asking me to just send him an email when he can return. So I've just done that now. If council doesn't mind us waiting for a moment.
Okay. We just go ahead with Councilor Wink then?
If Councillor Wink wishes, he can speak to his item.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion with respect to this item that council direct staff to identify methods of additional identification for safety and descriptive purposes for the Steve Bauer Trail system, and that staff report back with options for consideration by March 7th, 2022. Just a quick update. This has been brought forward by the Pelham Active Transportation Committee. The Steve Bauer Trail system, if you look at all the trails within the system, it's 22 kilometers. If someone were to slip on the ice or whatever, or have a heart attack and 911's called, there's no real good way of identifying exactly where they are. So this is just an effort to beef up the trail system, the nomenclature on being able to identify where an injured individual would be on the trail system.
Okay, thank you. Need a seconder?
Yes, we would need a seconder for the
Is there a
amendment.
seconder for this motion? I see Councillor Kaur has joined us, and he will be the seconder to the motion. Debate on this?
Certainly.
Right?
Council
Yep,
may
so
debate.
now that we have a seconder, is there any debate, questions on this motion before us? Number one, I found it pretty amazing that the Steve Bauer Trail is indeed 22 kilometers long. That's quite a impressive trail system, and it would be if someone needed help, it'd be nice to be able to narrow down the section they're on. I guess perhaps Mr. CAO. Are you okay with the March 7th date to come back with a report?
Yes, Your Worship. Councillor Wink was more than good enough to inquire as to what a reasonable date for staff might be, and we think we can work with that. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Yep, very good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments before we have the clerk call the vote? Not seeing any. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. So for the amendment, this vote begins with Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. That does bring us to the main motion as amended, if council wishes to further discuss.
Any discussion on the main amendment? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. I will use the same mover and seconder, being Councillor Wink and Councillor Kaur, and this is on the main motion as amended, and this vote will begin with Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. Through you, Mr. Mayor, that brings you to your first staff report on the agenda. And I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Hildebrandt, seconded by Councillor Kaur. Be it resolved that Council receive Report 2022-002 Corporate Services 2022 User Fees and Charges Report for information, and that Council approve and adopt the 2022 User Fees and Charges. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on 10.2.2? I see Councillor Hahn has her hand.
Yes, through the mayor. So I would like to speak to it first, and then I'd like to make an amendment. So first of all, we haven't yet approved the water and wastewater budget, which I understand is January 24th. So for me, it's kind of like putting the cart before the horse. We're deciding on the rate without actually approving the motion first to actually do the increase. So a bit confused there if somebody wants to speak to that. But I'll go on to my next point, and that is I'm not in favor of such a dramatic increase. We're still well into a pandemic. People are being forced to work from home, so therefore they're going to be using more water. And so as far as approving these rates for water and wastewater, in addition to we are being excited about the 2022 being the year of the garden. So go plant a garden, and then we're going to penalize you for watering that garden. So, it's a little bit hypocritical, and I think we're so much into the pandemic still that this is just, this is gouging. And so I don't approve of this, but if somebody would like to speak to why it is we're actually deciding on the rate before even approving this budget, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, I see Director of Finances has her hand up. Ms. Quinlan Murphy.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you, Council Hahn, for your comments. Normally, we do have the operating budget approved before the user fees, so this year it's reversed, and that's why they're in there, but you're absolutely correct. They should not be approved tonight. It's part of the January 24th water budget approval. So I think there needs to be an amendment to approve the user fees excluding the water rates. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and so we could use perhaps the motion be amended to approve well, of course, go through the discussion purpose here, but to do save and accept the water and wastewater rates then. Thank you.
Correct.
Okay. Madam Clerk, is that possible?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly Councillor Hahn has a motion to amend, to save and accept, to approve and adopt the 2022 user fees and charges, save and accept the water and wastewater charges. So she would need a seconder for that.
Okay, is there a seconder? And I see Councillor Stewart will second.
Thank you. So I do have Councillor Stewart as a seconder, and council can debate.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or debate on this amendment? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So for the amendment, this vote begins with Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, and that does carry. That does bring you to the main motion as amended for council to discuss.
Any discussion now on the main amendment as amended? Councillor Stewart. Oh, yes.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question under the fees and recreation for the MCC servery. That's a new fee. We had not rented that out before. It's a new charge, and it's listed at $34 an hour. I'm wondering if this is just for the use of the space alone, or does it include someone serving?
And who would like to answer that? Vicky, I'm sorry, Ms. Van Ravensvay, Director of Wellness. Oh, you're on mute.
There.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is a new fee. Thanks for noting that. And that would obviously, if someone is renting the servery, then we would be selling beverages, and the profits from the beverages would remain in the town's hands. So there would be no need to also pay for staff.
Councillor?
Yes, thank you. So that would just be for the space, and the town would be covering the cost of the server.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. So this is for the main motion as amended. I will be using Councillor Hahn as the mover, Councillor Stewart as the seconder. And unless there's any other debate, I'll begin this vote with Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. Mr. Mayor, that brings us to our next item on the agenda, and I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Stewart. Be it resolved, the Council receive Report 2021-0213 Recreation, Niagara 2022 Canada Summer Games Venue Use Agreement, Torch Rally, and 13 for 13 Festival Event for information, and that Council approve entering into the venue use agreement with Niagara 2022 Canada Summer along with their respective bylaws for the mayor and clerk's signature. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any discussion, comments on 10.2.3? I see Councillor Hildebrand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thank you for this report. The question I have is with regards to the cycling rink. that cycling route that's shown there, even for an amateur cyclist, seems very tame. Even the local cycling teams run harder routes than shown there. Have these cycling members of the committee really evaluated this route? Because it basically, it's a pretty easy route. It's if you go see the local cycling roads, those guys are racing up and down Effingham, Sailor Hill, and through Sulphur Springs and all that kind of stuff. That's what the local guys are racing through. So the excitement for a road race, to me, is something like that. This seems really tame, but maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want a tame race. Could the director please comment on that?
And indeed we will. Perhaps they're not in quite as good a shape as Councillor Hildebrand. Director of Wellness, Ms. Van Ravensway?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is the route that was provided to us by the Canada Games Committee. And I know that they met many times with regard to it and drove it, and also met with Director Marr as well. And this is the route that has been presented to us. You know, their first turn is riding up Churchill. So, you know, I'm sure that might be a challenge.
Councillor Hildebrand?
That's not nearly a challenge. These guys race up and down Effingham, the local guys. But anyway, if that's the route they've chosen, that's what they've chosen.
That's correct.
That's fine.
Nope, they've looked at the route and rode the route, and I guess that's the route they want, Councillor.
I think they probably rode it in their car. So, sorry to say.
Any other comments or questions on this? Not seeing any. Madam Clerk?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. This vote begins with Councillor Kaur.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry. To you, Mr. Mayor, I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Hahn, seconded by Councillor Hildebrandt. Be it resolved that Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaws, do read a first, second, and third time, and do pass same, and that the Mayor and Clerk be and is hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws. 1. Bylaw 4352-2022, being a bylaw to repeal and replace bylaw number 4221-2020 as amended, being a bylaw to establish an administrative monetary penalty system for non-parking related offenses and to amend bylaws in section 24 to 38 inclusive. 2. Bylaw number 4353-2022, being a bylaw to repeal and replace bylaw number 4319-2021 as amended, being a bylaw to establish an administrative municipal penalty system AMPS in respect to the enforcement of traffic, parking, standing, or stopping of vehicles. Bylaw number 4411-2022, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 3728-2016 to establish 2022 fees and charges to be collected by the Corporation of the Town of Pelham and to repeal bylaw number 4299-2020 as amended. Bylaw number 4412-2022, being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy for the year of 2022. 5. Bylaw number 4413-2022, being a bylaw to authorize the Mayor and Clerk to enter into an intermunicipal amending agreement with the Regional Municipality of Niagara and local area municipalities with respect to the Vision Zero program. Bylaw number 6, being bylaw 4414-2022, being a bylaw to authorize the Mayor and Clerk to enter into a venue use agreement with the 2021 Canada Games Host Society, Inc. with respect to the 2022 Canada Games and to authorize the use of such roads and lands as a venue for the 2022 Canada Games. To you, Mr. Mayor, I will just note that item number 3 listed, being bylaw number 44 2022 is the fees and charges bylaw, which just had an amendment passed. I would ask that council consider somebody asking for this motion to be divided, to consider that one separately, as I would suggest that needs to be further amended to save and accept the water and wastewater charges as well.
Okay, thank you. So we need a motion on that?
Simply just need one councillor to request that it be divided.
Okay, and we have Councillor Core requesting that then.
Thank you. We will consider all other bylaws first. Mr. Mayor, to you for any debate.
Yep, okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. On the other bylaws, is there any comments, questions that any councillor would like to make? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. This will begin with Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Core.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you. That does carry. That does bring us to bylaw number 4411-2022. And this is the bylaw with respect to establishing the 2022 fees and charges. To you, Mr. Mayor, as council has already provided an amendment to the staff report, I would suggest that council may wish to do the same amendment to the bylaw, just saving and accepting the water and wastewater. I would need a mover and a seconder for that.
Okay, do we have a mover, Councillor Hahn and Councillor Stewart?
If they'd like to speak to that, or if I shall just call the vote.
Any discussion on this amendment? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. This will begin with Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Core.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you. That does carry, and that does bring you to the main motion as amended. If there's
Okay.
any other discussion?
Any discussion on the main motion as amended? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. I'll use the same mover being Councillor Hahn and seconder being Councillor Stewart. And this will begin with Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Core.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you. And that does also carry. To you, Mr. Mayor, I do have a motion put forth by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Hahn. Be it resolved that the following bylaw be ready for second and third time and passed, being bylaw number 4415-2022, to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of Council of the Town of Pelham at its regular meeting held on the 10th day of January 2022. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Any discussion on this item? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This vote begins with Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Core.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you. That does carry. To you, Mr. Mayor, I have a motion put forth by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Core. Be it resolved that this regular meeting of council be adjourned until the next regular meeting scheduled for January 24th, 2022 at 5:30. To you, Mr. Mayor, for discussion.
Any discussion? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. This vote begins with Councillor Wink.
Yes.
Councillor Hahn.
Yes.
Councillor Hildebrandt.
Yes.
Councillor Core.
Yes.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Stewart.
Yes.
Mayor Junkin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does carry, and it is 6:57, and you can gavel out your meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, all.
Good night.
It's amazing how fast the meeting went when